I'm teaching from the context of MMA, where hand blocking is really important, and this type of turtle block, right, or all tight in like this, really doesn't apply. It doesn't make any sense. We need to use our hands for a lot of our blocks. So Yazzy's jabbing at me. I catch her right in the center of my palm, all right? And if she was to feint me, this is what you shouldn't do. Feint. I should not be smacking at that strike. I am not reaching out at it. My hand stays at my head level the entire time, right? We are people, not cats. We don't paw at the punches. So, right, when Yazzie throws the jab again, right in the center of my palm every time. If she was to feint me, right, I'm not going to make that big mistake and expose that huge flaw. Because I know myself as an advanced level striker, as an advanced coach, I would read that right away. Soon as Yazzie, right, slaps her hand down at my feint, right, I'm going to follow up right away with a lead hook or do that again in the future, right, something along those lines. But I am going to lock that in the bank, knowing that Yazzie has that flaw and take advantage of it later. How often have we seen lately where fighters have been feinting, right, their hand, and right off of that, a head kick behind it? Or we saw with Kamaru Usman. We just saw it the other weekend with Alex Caceres. Right? It's a super common knockout, and it's happening all the time now, even though it's been happening for years in kickboxing and karate-based striking. It's like the #1 combination to throw. Right? Robert Whittaker, too, that's like his #1 combination. He goes cross, right, high kick. Because if you reach for that punch, 100% you're going to get kicked in the head. So another really important thing is if we're mixing in our head movement with these types of movements, we don't want to do 2 defenses for the price of 1, because that's when we start to lose our efficiency. Let's say if Yazzie's throwing her jab at me and I slip while I do this parry off. And this is sort of a common mistake that a lot of beginners make, where they want to really cover their bases. But again, right, this is lacking a lot of efficiency, right? And it's not really a subtle movement either. Yazzie again feints at me, right? And I do this. She could follow up with a left hook, right? Boom. Or she could already have a kick coming up behind that parry. So I threw my head into her kick, making it a lot worse. And again, this is where a lot of guys are getting caught recently in this type of movement. Vice versa on the other side. Yazzie's throwing her cross at me. I'm going to be catching again with my lead hand, right? Or rather the hand that is on the same side. So if she's throwing her right straight, I'm going to be using my left hand to catch it right in the center of my palm. And again, if she feints me, I shouldn't be slapping down at it. My biggest mistake that I'd ever make would be to reach a little bit too far. And as soon as you recognize you make that mistake, don't do it again. She'll take advantage of you. So, all right, I'm very subtle. Right in front of my face, where every single time I'm catching that punch with strength, but not a slap, not a strike, right? Even there, I reached a little bit too far. Right, she feints me, right? That's the mistake that you're making. So you have time to make the mistake, readjust, and defend whatever's coming up after that again. Last thing that's really important to mention in terms of parrying is where people go wrong is they sort of paw their hand down like this while flicking their elbow up. Like I said, it's not so much a down motion as it is a catching in the palm motion. So you can see my elbow position doesn't necessarily change that much. And even better yet, if I can keep my hand stacked over top of my elbow, I'm also protecting my body at the same time. So if she was to level change and attack my body, hopefully my elbow is there to deflect that punch, even if I initially thought it was coming to the face. And vice versa for my rear hand parry, right? I'm keeping that elbow relatively in the entire time as to not expose myself. Right? Again, if Yazzie was to feint my hand and I was to do this, right, my body is very exposed for her to reload and throw a left hook, just level change and throw a jab to the body. Right? Really, any opening is available right there to attack the body. So mixing these 2 defenses together, again, with subtlety, I catch off of either side. Don't overthink it too much. Really just don't throw your hands at the strikes. You'll fall apart really quick. If I start from a bit of a lower guard, I still need to make that adjustment and come to my face and be consistent and efficient with it. Even if I go from sort of this hands down position, my hands are up like this, same concept still applies. Okay, and again, this is teaching from the context of MMA, where hand blocking is a lot more important than it would be in, let's say, boxing or Muay Thai, where they use bigger gloves and we can kind of do much tighter blocking to the sides of our heads. Okay, we're gonna do a little bit of application now. So Yazzy's just gonna be throwing her straights at me. The first round, all she's gonna do is throw her jab. And this is a way that you can practice with your partners as well. So while Yazzy throws her jab at me, all I'm gonna work on is that blocking alone. I'm not gonna try to mix in other stuff. I'm gonna focus on being perfect with that block every single time. So she jabs at me, I catch in the palm every single time. All right. And once your partner starts looking really good, make sure that they start mixing in feints too. Because if you're being perfect, then they're not challenging you enough. Well, she would have got me there, but she's being nice. All right, and play with your ranges too. I'm inside the entire time. Next round, all right, she's just throwing her cross at me. And again, she's going to start slow. Make sure I'm working on perfect technique the entire time. I'm not overreacting. And once she thinks I'm looking comfortable, I'm doing everything perfectly, she'll start mixing in that feinting. All right, she can feint with both hands. All right, try to get me distracted. Right, and it's really important to practice this way. Last round, we mix in the jabs and the crosses. If you're not mixing in the feinting too with this sort of stuff, then you sort of lose the realism of the drill, where you can just get into like slapping at the punches. So you as the attacker with your partner, you need to make sure you're feinting to check if they're doing that overreaction, not so efficient, not so subtle movement. And make sure you're aiming at their face and not at their hands. Okay, you're not punching like this or like this. We're aiming right down the center the entire time, right at their nose. We need to make sure we're building great patterns the entire time. Yep. And if you're doing this perfectly, then they're not challenging you enough. All right, you start mixing in some level changes because I'm a little bit more advanced, right? But for the beginners, you can just keep it on the head. And you can pick up the pace a little bit, throw a little bit quicker. All right, and I'm playing with my ranges too. I'm moving out, I'm moving in. All right, I'm stepping off, not crossing my feet. Yeah. Perfect, good job. Okay guys, if you learned something today, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment if there's something that you want us to teach you in the future or show you, or maybe some drills for some specific movements that you're trying to really improve. Anything at all, make sure you leave a comment about. Thanks so much for watching the video, and we'll see you next time.